morning.
Good morning.
I feel 90% better than last week. Still got a little going on, but we got some really exciting announcements today. First one is, I'd like to alert you all that Deb Reynolds retired this week. Yay! She's way too young to retire, but she's taking care of her mom now and doesn't want to miss any time. So I think wonderful, good on you. Second thing is, Sharon and I are going to host another trip to La Crosse for a play they're doing at the La Crosse Community Theater. They're going to be doing Fiddler on the Roof. And it's going to be somewhere around the mid-October time. And we're still working out the details, but it'll be a lot like the last one, where we leave maybe on a Wednesday or a Thursday, come back on a Friday or a Saturday, and stay overnight a couple nights in a hotel. La Crosse is a really fun place because everything is really compact in the downtown area. You can go for coffee, and then you can go for ice cream, you can go for lunch. There's a microbrewery and a distillery, and I mean, they got it all covered right there in this short little place. And there's an antique store that you will walk in, and it's, I think, 3 floors of antiques, and it's stuff you won't have seen for a long time. Some of it really cool. All right.
One more announcement you have.
Yes. Red.
Or the gospel.
Oh. The gospel this week is going to be from Genesis 1, or Genesis 12, 1 to 9, not Exodus, in case you're playing the home game. That is a Pastor Tim screw-up.
That's okay.
At both churches. Anyway. For the next 10 weeks, we are doing a sermon series that I wrote, and we will see if it's any good. But it has a lot to do with our experiences. I read an interesting book called Convictions by Marcus Borg, and it's titled How I Learned What Matters Most. And so for the next 10 weeks, I chose 10 themes that I think matter the most that we can explore. And it will be an adventure. So we'll see how this all plays out. I think that's, we have a bread bake coming up. Is that
14th.
The 14th?
Yes,
Wednesday?
Yep.
And so we will,
Peace that night.
yep. Why don't we stand and join in our call to worship. Let us draw near to God.
Let us put down the weights we carry.
Let us open ourselves to God's Spirit.
Let us come again to be filled.
Open our hearts to receive your love.
Make us a vessel of your love for the world.
You may be seated.
Today's reading is from the 12th chapter of Genesis, beginning at the first verse. Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and the ones who curse you, I will curse. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." So Abram went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. Abram took his wife Sarai, and his brother's son Lot, and all the possessions that they had gathered, and the persons whom they had acquired in Haran. And they set forth to go to the land of Canaan. When they had come to the land of Canaan, Abram passed through the land to the place at Shechem, to the oak of Moreh. At that time, the Canaanites were in the land. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." So he built there an altar to the Lord who had appeared to him. From there, he moved on to the hill country on the east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord and invoked the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed on by stages toward the Negev. Here ends today's reading.
Thank you, Dad. Imagine what it would be like to be Abram, living in the ancestral home of your parents at 75. Talk about millennials now. I mean, by the time they're 75, trust me, they're going to be gone. Abram's still at home, and God comes to him and says, "I want you to go to a new place. A place I will show you." I can't imagine that's very compelling. But Abram trusted God at least enough to set out with his wife and his nephew Lot and all of their stuff, all of the people they had acquired. That doesn't sound good. And they moved to a new place, and they walked through the Holy Land. And while they were walking through, God said, "This is the land I'm going to give to your ancestors." Now, at this age, he still didn't have any children. So, okay. But he builds an altar. And we all look back at Abraham as the great father of three religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. They all see Abraham as the great father of the religion. They're called the Abrahamic religions in seminary. But then there's a little bit that follows directly on the heels of this passage where Abram experiences a famine and he heads to Egypt. This is kind of a precursor to what is to come for the people of Israel eventually. But he goes to Egypt because of a famine. And when he gets there, just outside of the city, he says to his wife, and how he got away with this, I have no idea. He says, "Let's pretend in front of these people that you're my sister. Because if they think that you're my wife, they're going to kill me and take you for their own. This way, I mean, even if they take you for their own, I'll still not be killed." Can you imagine saying that to your wife? I would never say that. Kind of a lack of trust moment for Abram, out of his fear. But then the people see how beautiful his wife is, and they decide she is going to be part of the harem of Pharaoh. But before he has an opportunity, before her number is called, or however it worked, it came out that she was actually Abram's wife. And all of these bad things had been happening in Egypt. Plagues, right? It's kind of a precursor of what's to happen. And so the Pharaoh said, "Just take your wife and all of your stuff and leave." And so Abram went, and he went back to the promised land, and he settled there, and raised his family and his nephew Lot. And we have the story that continues in Genesis of the people of God. Have you ever been on a journey, a vacation? When I was in 1978, my parents decided this is the year. They pooled their vacation, saved up all the money we could muster, and we bought a van. and we drove a Chevy van, and we drove out to the ocean in Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, all that way. And I remember being so excited, and we're driving, and we're sleeping at campgrounds. The bed made in the back into a queen-size bed, and then my sister and I slept on the floor on cushions, but it was lovely. And on the way out, we stopped at Yellowstone, and it was getting to be night, and we wanted to make a fire and have some bratwurst. And we were cooking these sausages, and the smell was just filling the air in this wildlife refuge, Yellowstone. And my mom and my dad and my sister were sitting on the side of the picnic table, and I was over between the grill and the picnic table with my hacky sack. Remember what a hacky sack is? It's one of these little balls with, I think, rice or beans or something inside of it, and you hit it like this to try to keep it in the air. So you got to make your foot nice and flat when you hit it, so you can hit it straight up. And I was pretty good. I could maybe do 50 or 60 sometimes. Maybe my record was 71 or something. And I'm sitting here doing this, and my parents and my sister see a bear coming out of the woods towards me and the grill and them. And they get up and run to the van. Allegedly they said something to me, but I did not respond. I don't think they said anything. I think they were so afraid. And I was so focused, I'm sitting here using my hacky sack, and the bear came up within 10 feet of me, and he's looking over at the grill, and he's knocking the sausages off into the dirt between me and the grill. And all of a sudden, I noticed something from my peripheral vision, big and black. And I just leave the hacky sack mid-air, and I turned and ran. I don't even think I touched the ground, all the way to the van and jumped in. This close. At least it felt like that. But it was quite an adventure. My sister and I had to draw a line between us in the van, the line you could not cross. And I would sneak right up to the line to annoy my sister, probably. At least this is what she remembers. But it was a great adventure. And one of the things that I learned is how important it is to travel. So right now, I want you to think back to your growing up years, whatever that was. Or maybe it was last year if you're still growing up. What is a trip that you took that was a great adventure? You ever take any trip like that that was just amazing adventure? Where did you go?
Wisconsin Dells.
Wisconsin Dells, wow.
That was an adventure.
Yeah.
I did.
Water parks, and
I don't even think they had them then.
not yet? No? Dinosaur rides? No? Not quite. What else?
Beef hamburgers.
Pete's Hamburgers.
Pete's Hamburgers is an adventure.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely. If you've never been to, is it Prairie du Chien?
Yes,
Yes, it is.
he's trying to convince
There's a
me.
hamburger stand there called Pete's Hamburgers. It's life-changing.
Yes, it is.
What else? Anybody else? Did you go on a vacation or a trip when you were a kid?
California,
You went to California. What was that like?
fun.
Yeah?
Well, my dad grew up in California, so it was family, but Yosemite and the parks and
Yeah.
Disneyland.
Disneyland. There you go.
As young people, they could go all those places. I went to Florida in 1959 before Disney was even there.
Oh.
We stopped in Orlando. It was just a little podunk town.
And what did you do in Florida?
Watch the dolphins jump and some mermaids and Mermaids. Wiki-watching mermaids.
Huh?
Yeah.
Anybody over here?
We were too poor, we didn't have any to go anywhere.
Anyone over here, including my wife?
Went to Cornucopia many times when I was a kid.
Cornucopia, northern Wisconsin. That's a good trip. That's an adventure. Hayward.
Every year.
Wow. What did you do there?
My parents fished.
Okay. Go to the lake.
Yeah, we swam.
Wow.
Chased boys. Jumped off the bridge.
Well, I ask you this because one of my convictions in life is that travel is key. You learn stuff when you travel that you didn't know before. You see things that you didn't know. Your worldview gets expanded. Sometimes, if you ever meet somebody who's never been anywhere, their world is small. But when you see people who love to travel, love to go and experience new things, I'm so fortunate to have met Sharon because she is a traveler. Loves to travel. Makes me travel more than I ever thought I could. But you have encounters. You learn about the diversity of the world and how, no matter where you go, people are people. There's some good people, some difficult people in every culture, everywhere you go. But kindness is something that is always appreciated. And we learn that when we travel. We learn to trust God. I've been on many adventures that didn't go so great. I took a group of kids backpacking, and one of the kids slid down a ridge and broke his arm. And we were in the middle of nowhere. And I had to hitchhike back in the middle of the night to get some help. Very scary. But you realize that in all things, God is with us, as God was with Abraham. And the journeys that we take, the adventures that we have, one of the things we learn is that we are built for adventure. And adventure helps us to learn to trust ourselves and to trust God. In the next 9 weeks, we are going to go on an adventure. An adventure of learning to trust and to try new things and to think new thoughts and to see new things.